Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Ben's Blades. Today I have a Hogue Deka for you. This one is a stone-washed Hogue Deka in the black polymer. And I got the version in black polymer specifically so that I could be justified in swapping out the scales. This knife is lightweight as hell to the point of not inspiring confidence in its durability, even though logically we all know that's nonsense. We learned that from the Benchmade bug out. But nonetheless, I want to take it apart and put some current red scales on it from RGT. So we're going to take those scales and put them on this knife right here. This is a fairly new knife, so it shouldn't need a lot of cleaning or other types of maintenance. It should also be, I'm thinking it should be easier to take it apart than it was the Kershaw Bel Air. That was a nightmare, trying to get those free spinning standoffs to hold still so I could break loose the blue Loctite. This is actually being filmed while I'm waiting for a pair of Knipex needle nose pliers to come in so that I can finish that job, and so the Kershaw Bel Air is sitting just over off camera in a bunch of pieces while I wait for that. So I figured in the meantime, let's give this one a try. Now let's talk about behavior. So we have a knife that is fall shut. It didn't start out that way, but just from messing around with it, it did grow to become quite fall shutty. We have no side to side or up and down blade play, and the blade is perfectly, if I can get it to right there, perfectly dead center, at least from my eyes. This is really awkward when you got a camera that's like pointing straight down. It's kind of awkward to set it up like exactly where it's going to focus properly, so you'll just have to bear with me as I learn better how to do that. This is only the second video in a brand new YouTube channel, so you'll just have to bear with me. Okay, now let's weigh it, just because we are going to affect the weight quite significantly. So why not? We are on ounces, so this is 2.19 ounces in the condition that it's in. So what kind of bit do I need? I think this is bigger than a T6. Oh yeah, a lot bigger than a T6. It might even be a T10. Let's start with T8 though, and T8 and T8. Okay, so let's grab the Mac mini ratchet and try to break this loose. It might be free spinning, the pivot, so I guess we'll see. Now the CountyComm titanium driver to pull it the rest of the way out. Ooh. It's a big-ass screw. Not sure if you can see that. Yeah, that's big. Okay, now let's try this side first. Yeah, that broke loose without a lot of trouble at all. So I'm not sure how I feel about the Hogue Deka. I mean, it's a great knife, you know, just to throw in your pocket and not have to really care about it that much. But the ergonomics aren't doing much for me. The blade shape isn't doing much for me. The blade shape is kind of a almost like a Les George. I mean, it's an Elishewicz design, but it looks almost like a crappily done Les George blade, and I don't know, just aesthetically, this knife just doesn't do it for me. So maybe taking the scales off will make a little bit of a difference. We could stand to clean that up a little bit. Ooh wee, that is a little bit dirty. So now this is what I was hoping to do in the last video with the Kershaw Bel Air, was I was hoping I could just grab onto these and hold them in place while I unscrew them. Let's see if that's going to be possible with this. And yes, it is. So this is just fundamentally a much easier knife to take apart than the Kershaw Bel Air. I mean, I said hold on to your blades for a reason in that video because I had a feeling it was going to be rough. So wouldn't it be just hilarious if that just became like what I was known for, is saying hold on to your blades? I totally stole that from Jurassic Park, Samuel L. Jackson.
Hold on to your butts.
Okay. Now, let me see if I can just pull this side off. Wiggle it loose. It does look like it's starting to break loose. It's just taking a bit. Am I missing something here? I should probably do my homework before I just start taking knives apart. Because it feels like the actual frame is still being held into place by something. Maybe I take this. This is a Benchmade disassembly tool. Maybe it just needs to be poked through, and the pivot screw needs to be poked out. Let me close this. Just see if I can shove that out of there. Doesn't give me much to grab onto. There we go. So yeah, it does appear that... So that's actually not free spinning. That is a captive pivot. It's flattened on one side. I mean, I should have guessed, just because that's how Benchmades are. Okay, so these are just hollowed out polymer. I mean, not a lot different from the Benchmade bug out. Now, I can't believe I'm about to do this, but I think there's a reason why people don't like these polymer or FRN handles and would rather go to G10. Because I can tell you right now, I can sit here and, yeah, look at that. Now, who in their right mind would do that unless you knew you were never going to use them again? So, like, most pocket knives are not being subjected to this kind of crap, but just like, yeah, I mean, look at that. So I cannot imagine it would be as easy to do that with G10. I mean, you could damn well do it, but with G10, you'd have a lot tougher time just splitting that in half like that. Okay, so, and now we have the blade out with the phosphor bronze washers. And it looks like in order to get this completely apart, I have to take out the Omega springs, which I am so totally excited about that. If you can detect sarcasm in my voice. There we go. And there you have it. And it looks like this could stand to be cleaned and re-oiled. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use Slip 2000 725 to clean this knife off. A lot of people would just use rubbing alcohol. This is 99% alcohol right here. The only time I use 99% alcohol is if I am cleaning off like bearings and I don't want to introduce any kind of cleaner in there that could attract like dust or debris or whatever. But then that doesn't make any sense, because then I'll turn around and add like pivot oil. So I guess maybe there's not a whole lot of logic to that mindset, but yeah, my alcohol gets used rarely. Let's put it that way. So that's clean. I'm just going to go ahead and clean off this this pivot barrel. Now, one thing, a big reason why I use a water-based gun cleaner, one is because I have guns, and so if you've got the stuff to use on guns, then you may as well use it on knives. Just like this stuff right here is ALG Go Juice. So, I mean, if you got the stuff to use on guns, you may as well use it on your knives, right? All right. So I have cleaned that out about as much as it needs to be. I'm going to clean off these phosphor bronze washers. That's about as good of a job as I think it needs. Because, I mean, it's just going to go back in there and get compressed against oil anyway. So, and it's just going to get grimed up and need, you know, cleaning and relubrication later either way. So, and if you have a knife steel that you think might benefit from some kind of lubrication or like corrosion resistance, I actually will tend to use this stuff right here, LPS2. This is really popular in the aviation industry, the aerospace maintenance industry, and that stuff will leave just like a slick film on your blade that is not going to come off super easily. So I will tend to spray that on occasionally if I'm really thinking I'm going to abuse my knives in, you know, corrosion heavy environments. Okay, what's the best way to do this? Let's go ahead and... So, probably the best way to do this is to take the scales out and at least have one side assembled. So here they are, RGT. Now, what I think I'm going to do... Well, no. The crossbar lock has to go back in there before I can do that. I'm just learning as I go, and so if this is taking longer than you want, you know, understand that this is only my second time taking a crossbar lock knife apart. And so I'm learning this as I go. So this needs to go in like that, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And now getting it in is going to be, oh, actually that wasn't so hard after all. Okay, so now this can sit in there just like so. And I think I'm going to put a standoff and a screw in, just so that this is captured so I don't have to deal with parts falling all over the place. Anybody who's ever taken apart a Hinderer XM18 and those fucking Chicago screws, I finally started using painter's tape to hold them down. Otherwise the knife will just disassemble itself, whether you want it to or not. There. So now I'm going to put the blade stop pin back in. And probably now the thing to do, that blade stop pin is going to be a pain in the ass. I know it is, because it just wants to pop out. So I'm going to take some of this Go Juice. This stuff has, in my opinion, it's slicker and has slightly better staying power than like KPL. The problem is, it is because of the bottle that I use to hold it in, it tends to be runnier and come out a lot more liberally than I would prefer. I'm trying to put the, there we go, the pivot back in so that now the phosphor bronze washer has a place to go. And then the blade has a place to go. Did I do that in a very not good order? I think I might have. Yeah, I think I did. I think I have to disassemble this thing now and take it out, because I partially assembled it such that the blade can't go back in. So, all right, let's take it out. Okay, I have now tried to put this knife back together the wrong way 4 times, between on camera and off camera. So this time, I am going to attempt to do it properly, because there were certain parts that were getting installed in the wrong order, and it made like the final assembly of it, of certain parts, just practically impossible. So I'm gonna lube these with way too much. I know it's way too much, but at this point, I am pretty certain that anything that doesn't need to be there is just gonna leak out for me to clean up later. So now, you know what? I think the best way to do this is like this. Because the pivot barrel has to come in from the other side, and so I'm thinking the best way to do it is this way. I have never taken apart a crossbar lock knife before, and I was only able to get the Kershaw 1/2 done before I had to stop to order a pair of needle nose pliers because the standoffs were free spinning. So this is me effectively having to learn how to put a crossbar lock knife back together. And this has got so much oil on it, it's not going to matter at this point anyway. Now put the blade stop pin back in. I suppose I could have just stopped and like YouTubed how to do this. You know, just went to somebody else's YouTube channel and watched how they did it. But I guess learning on your own, at least in my opinion, is more effective because you retain information better that way. Learn from your own mistakes. Okay. Now I think finally I can put the crossbar lock back on. Because on one of the off-camera tries to get this back together, well, I say off-camera in the sense that you're not going to see it because why would I waste your time? But I had the camera on, and I got this thing almost all the way back together and then realized the standoff wasn't there, and it was too fully assembled to get it in there, and so I had to take everything completely apart again. So now we should have a knife that is ready for the scales to go on. I'm going to put this side on first just because I want to get the pivot barrel in. So I think the best way to do that is to put it on top of this tool and just wiggle it through. If anybody's got any advice, feel free to put it in the comment section of the video, because like I said, I am totally new to this sort of thing. Taking apart frame lock knives are a lot easier than this. So I can't say that I'm too enthused about a lot of upcoming knife projects I got because it sounds like this is going to be a real pain in the ass to get these kind of knives together again. Okay, so let's do this. I'm really excited about a lot of like Hinderer projects I have coming up for the channel and like zero tolerance projects, but this stuff seems like a real pain in the ass, is what I'm learning. The hard part I'm having right now is just getting the pivot barrel back through, even with this tool that's supposed to make it easier. Try the other side's a little bit bigger. Maybe partially closing it. There we go. Partially closing it seems to work a little better. That would have been nice to know 25 minutes ago. Okay. Now let me see if I can get this pivot barrel in. There we go. See, so I had to learn this the hard way, and I might leave a lot of this footage in the video and just let it be long so that you can see me learn and make all these damn mistakes. It does look like it's easier if you have the knife partially closed. Again, I could have just looked that up, but I wanted to figure that out on my own. Okay, so now we are in a position where we should be able to put all the standoffs back on and put everything back together. Let's do that before something else goes wrong. Okay. Now, I think that is the lanyard hole. Yeah. All right, let me see. This snaps together pretty nice. And let's put the screws in. Then I also have the pivot screw that needs to go in. I just want to get this knife to where it's mostly put together, and I'll tighten everything down later. I actually don't use Loctite on my knives unless a screw that really, and that's just, unless it's a screw that really needs it. Just because, I don't know, it just seems like a waste of time. Like if a screw doesn't need Loctite, why use it? The only times I've really needed Loctite for knives is like Hinderer knives with those Chicago screws that'll tend to back out. Like it'll just be sitting in your pocket and the screws will back out. And so sometimes I'll use blue Loctite on those. But any screw that doesn't behave like it really needs it, I'm not going to put Loctite on that. I just don't think it's necessary. It's a waste of my time. I only got one life to live, and I'm not going to spend it putting blue Loctite on freaking everything every time I turn around. All right. Now, it looks like we have a left side blade centering, but this knife is also still really loosely assembled, and so we're going to tighten everything down and see if it'll just come back to center. If it does, I'll be very impressed. If it just comes right back to center, Hogue, you guys did a good job designing and machining this knife. Somehow I don't think it's going to go right back to center, but we shall see here in a couple seconds. No, it is no longer centered. It's also a little on the gritty side, but it is back together, so at least we have that. So I've got this little wrench thing right here, and I'm just going to try to shove that right there, and now I'm going to back the pivot out slightly and loosen all the body screws on one side. This is kind of the metal complex way of doing it. And now I'm going to tighten the pivot all the way down. Tighten all the body screws back down. Pull this out. And it looks like that worked. We have a dead center blade. And it's smoothing up quite a bit too. It might be drifting slightly to one side, to the left side, the pocket clip side. But I think just doing this a couple times will work it out. Doing what I just did, the sort of the metal complex method, the Nick Shabazz method. I'm not sure who to blame it on, but I think doing that a couple times and just tinkering with it will get it like dead center. I mean, it's not touching either side. It doesn't really need to be center as far as I'm concerned, but I think messing around with it off camera will definitely fix it. So I got the original pocket clip fully installed, and then I remembered that I actually had a replacement pocket clip from Lynch Northwest. This is for the Hogue Deka. And what I like about this is that it doesn't appear that you have to wedge the bit diagonally where this cutoff is in the opening and kind of screw the pocket clip screw down at an angle. You can do it more just straight down, and it's easier to take the pocket clip on and off. So I think I'm going to do that instead. This is titanium pocket clip from Lynch Northwest that almost went flying across the room. So I'm going to take that, put it on the back of the knife right here, set this down. This is being filmed like an hour after I thought I was done. And so that's why everything is all cleaned up and put away for the most part. So but I just wanted to show this last part of the video just to make sure that everything reasonably possible is being captured. I also need to get better about filming in the middle of the screen. This is all a learning process that I'm going to have to learn. This is only the second video that I've done on this channel. And going back and looking through the footage, it looks like a lot of stuff is being recorded like down here where it blurs out, as opposed to up here where it's more in focus. So hopefully that makes a lot more difference. There you go. Lynch Northwest pocket clip for the Hogue Deka. It's a lot easier to install and remove. It looks slightly better, and I think it might actually even function better. This knife is almost dead center, which is how we had it. It is not quite as fall shutty as it was before we started, but it's pretty close. It'll get there. And here it is. Went from black to current red RGT scales on the Hogue Deka. 3 1/4 inch blade, a Leishowitz in Magna Cut. And let's go ahead and weigh it, because we did have a weight increase. So you may as well weigh it. Even the scale doesn't want to work today. What is wrong with my luck? I'm going to get my stuff together one of these days, and hopefully here in a few videos I'll kind of at least look like I know what I'm doing. But let's go ahead and weigh this. It now weighs, with a new clip and new G10 scales, 2.57 ounces. That is up a fair amount from, I think it was 2.19 when we started. So it's a heavier knife, but it's also a more substantial feeling knife in the hand. It feels a lot more like a Doug Ritter or even a Benchmade 940 now. I think even the ergos feel just a little bit better, but that could be power of suggestion just because it's a new set of scales. I might play around with it off camera just to see if I can get it slightly closer to dead center. But honestly, if you look at it, it's so close to dead center that we're splitting hairs at this point. I think most people would be perfectly fine with that. So that's that. All right, there you have it. Hogue Deka in new RGT scales. Ripp's Garage Tech. That's it. That's the video for today. Questions, comments, put them in the comment section of the video. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.